body chasing the truth.
Over the weekend, Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church had an active shooter in Houston, Texas. He was an illegal transgender from El Salvador. His name was Jeff Escalante Marino. He was an open Muslim. On his gun, it said Free Palestine. In 2005, he got caught having an illegal gun. In 2009, he was arrested for assaulting a police officer. For some reason, he identified as a white male. I mean, it's very bizarre because obviously he's Hispanic. And he should have never have been in the country to begin with. So if Joe Biden, ICE, and the DOJ were doing their job, he would have been deported and this would have never have happened. He also came to church with his 5-year-old son, and he used his 5-year-old child. Actually, I don't know if it was a boy or a girl, but he used his 5-year-old child as a human shield. The child ended up getting shot also, who's in critical condition, but Mr. Marino died. You know, right away, of course, liberals and Democrats are blaming AR-15s instead of a man who was identifying as a woman that obviously had some issues and used his own child as a human shield. So here's a list of recent transgender shootings. In Colorado Springs, the shooter was non-binary. The Nashville school shooter was a trans. The Aberdeen shooter, a school shooter, was a trans also. The Denver school shooter was a trans. The Iowa school shooter was a trans. And what this shows is the LGBTQ is radicalizing their youth to become extremists and to become violent. You know, one of the reasons I think that LGBTQ and the transgender community is targeting churches is because they're being brainwashed by Democrats that Christians don't accept them or accept their behavior, and they're being lied to. Christians never said that they didn't care about these young men and women. If anything, it's the total opposite. They do care about them, but they don't accept that lifestyle, and they don't accept that there's more than two genders. They would probably do everything in their power to help these young men and women, but the LGBTQ radicals and the Democratic and Liberal Party want to put a certain type of spin on this, which is turning them into radicalized, violent extremists who have shown a propensity and are willing to kill anybody who doesn't agree with their ideology. You know, this should concern every Christian in America. Every church in America should be concerned with this. You know, Christians in general, you need to stop with the kumbaya songs. You need to stop, you know, turning the other cheek all the time. It's time to stand your ground and learn how to defend yourself. You know, I always feel that a lot of people seem to like demasculinize Jesus Christ, especially Christians. You know, that he went around and he just saved people and he sung songs and yeah, and he did do all that. And he was gentle when he spoke to people, you know, especially non-believers. But nothing about Jesus Christ's life was easy or simple. I mean, he was a carpenter back in a time period where the climate alone, you know, you had to be a rough character to survive. There was nothing easy about Jesus's life. There was nothing soft about him. You know, you couldn't be soft and survive back then. So like Christians especially have a thing where they try to minimalize his masculinity. And I think that's a problem in today's, you know, Christian church. You know, if you're trying to inspire a young man to come to Christ, you see these street preachers and they just get spit on and people abuse them and they just stand there and take it. You have a God-given right to defend yourself. And I think that all Christians, especially in this day and age, should learn self-defense, take self-defense classes, obviously own legal weapons, not illegal, and have security. Every church at this point needs to have armed security to defend themselves from this type of behavior. Again, this man should have never been on American soil to begin with. When you see things like this, you can blame Joe Biden, you can blame Democrats, because he was a 2-time felon that should have been deported the first time he committed a felony. But no, We let him stay on American soil, and he almost killed an entire church. So let that sink in. Next, we're going to move on to Joe Biden. Biden is in full spin control mode about the report that came out about him with his conjunctive decline. I mean, anybody that has a brain in their head can tell that something is not right with Joe Biden. His handlers, Kamala Harris, the whole Democratic Party, they'll parade him around like Weekend at Bernie's and try to make you believe that he's running the country. The man has no clue where he is, who he is half the time. He can't even walk down a flight of steps. Jill Biden should be arrested for abuse to the elderly. She knows that this man's not well. It's absolutely disgusting. And Democrats are calling, let this sink in. The people that wrote this report about Joe Biden's conjunctive issues and his mental health declining are people that Joe Biden hired and pays to do that job. But now all of a sudden, according to Democrats, the report is outrageous and it's not. It's all these things. It's all of these negative things, but it's the truth. It's 1,000% the truth. He should not be allowed to run for president. He can't even balance a checkbook, never mind run the United States. And anybody that has a brain in their head knows it. Biden also, he has $100 billion for Ukraine, but he has no money for Maui. Maui was at the Super Bowl last night. They were talking about the destruction, to their state. Maui's a complete disaster, but, we're concerned about Ukraine and securing their border, while our border is literally allowing an invasion. There have been known active terrorists that are crossing the border completely unchecked, just coming in like, no big deal. Hey, what's the worst that could happen? Last month alone, 800,000 illegal people came into the United States of America. Unvetted, unchecked. They have no idea their criminal history. They have no idea about their vaccinations. Wait, so let me get this straight. Every American on the planet has to be vaccinated, for COVID if you want to keep your job. But we have millions upon millions of people entering the United States illegally who can do whatever they want. It's just liberalism at its finest. It really is. Joe Biden also, he wouldn't do his Super Bowl interview. Every year during the Super Bowl, the presidents get on and they do an interview when they run for president. What did Joe Biden do? He made a commercial about snacks. Yeah, that's right, snacks. Instead of having 50 Doritos in your bag, you're getting 47, and he's upset about it, and he's going to change it because he loves ice cream. This is what Democrats have to do when their policies are total failures. Border, failure. Inflation, failure. Food prices, failure. Crime in the streets, failure. Everything they touch is a complete dumpster fire, and they know it. So when they have to make commercials about potato chips, soda, ice cream, candy, parading around celebrities, hoping that you'll, switch your vote to Democrat, they have to do all that because they have absolutely nothing to run on, and they know it. Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer, they will send $100 billion to Ukraine to fix their border, while Americans, right in their own backyard, there's literally an invasion going on, and they'll look you in the eye and tell you, oh, the border's secure. So, and on top of all this, the money that they're going to give to Ukraine, they're borrowing the money from China. Let that sink in. You're borrowing money from our biggest enemy, which even weakens the United States of America because it makes us in debt to our enemy. China must just go to bed just laughing themselves to death at the corrupt leadership in America with Joe Biden and Democrats. I mean, no other country on the world would slit their own wrists like this except for Joe Biden, Democrats, and in the United States of America right now. And that's why they hate Donald Trump, because Donald Trump puts America first. He puts Americans first. When Donald Trump was the president, we had the best economy that we've ever had. The border was secure. We were definitely not having 800,000 people that we have no clue who they are or where they're going entering the country. Crime was under control in the streets. And soon as Democrats took over, what happened? The border went to hell. crime is through the roof, inflation, gas prices. Don't complain about gas and food. Don't complain about somebody coming here, making your taxes go up if you vote for Democrats, because you vote what you get. You're voting for. You'll complain about all these things, but yet you'll still vote for Democrats, so you get what you vote for. It's really as simple as that. The Super Bowl last night. Let's get into the entertainment aspect of it. Usher, in my opinion, did a good job. What's there not to like at the end of his performance? I don't want to hear about provocative dancing, etc., etc. At the end of his performance, he thanked God. I mean, at this point, you should just be thankful he did that. It wasn't some Illuminati sign or just some idiot nonsense, like some liberal agenda, messaging that, we need to vote for this person or there's something wrong with America. He did a good performance. With that many people in his performance, I'd actually say it was great. And at the end, he thanked God. So nobody should be complaining about Usher's performance. I got to tell the truth on my channel. I really thought that they would parade Taylor Swift around more and use her for political messaging. But to my surprise, which was a pleasant surprise, they actually didn't do it at all as much as I thought they were going to. So I got to give them credit for that. The political messaging wasn't over the top. Some of the commercials were. The one thing that I really can't stand when Democrats use the Bible when it comes to, illegal immigration. Well, guess what? In the Bible, it's also very specific about following the laws of a country. So you can't just use it to benefit what you're trying to do when you're doing something illegal. Don't just use it, for your narrative. The Bible is ultra specific about following the law. And if you want to come to the country legally, hey, fine, that's your right, no problem. But when you're rewarding millions upon millions of people, it's amazing. Like, you have millions of people who come in here. They broke every law on the planet to get here. And then you reward them for their behavior. And then when they get on American soil, everybody is so surprised that they're committing more crime. Well, why wouldn't they commit more crime? Nobody's making them follow the law. So why would they think the law applies to them once they get here? It's absurd. It's absurd. Oh, yeah, you broke every law in the book. Oh, here's free housing. Here's free education. Oh, here's free healthcare. Oh, here's a card with $5,000 on it. So why when they finally got here, oh, wait, hold on. I broke every law. Now I'm here. And now I'm just going to be a law-abiding citizen. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. But anyway, the best commercial of the night was definitely Ben Affleck, Tom Brady, and Matt Damon. I'm not a Tom Brady fan at all. It's not that I dislike him personally. I love the Steelers. You know how that history goes. It was a great commercial. I love Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. When Matt Damon looked at him, he was like, you're really hard to be friends with sometimes. I said I'd support you his whole life, basically. It was a great commercial. Seeing Tommy as the DJ. It was one of the best commercials of the night. Of course, leave it to one entertainer to do the satanic garbage, and that was Ice Spice. She had the upside down cross on. She had the Balenciaga, child trafficking clothes on. She was throwing up Illuminati signs. Anytime you have to deal with the entertainment world, you're going to deal with at least one of these idiots or morons acting like that. The game itself, I thought McCaffrey played excellent. I thought Nick Bosa was lights out. He was amazing all night. If it wasn't for Nick Bosa putting Mahomes under pressure all night, Nick Bosa was the difference maker. Nick Bosa was the one that kept the 49ers in the game, because every time Patrick Mahomes dropped back, he was running for his life. I didn't like what Shanahan did in the overtime. When he kicked the field goal, you have to go for you cannot give Patrick Mahomes the ball back a million times and not think that he's not going to score a touchdown eventually. I thought that they should have went for the touchdown and been aggressive instead of losing. The way they lost was absolutely ridiculous. And this whole thing where all the players are coming out saying they didn't know the rules, well, if that's true, then some heads need to roll. Because me as an average fan knows the first person to score a touchdown wins. So how do your players not know that? Shanahan, big, huge mistake, kicking the field goal. You gave the ball back to Patrick Mahomes all night to think that he wasn't going to come down the field one time and score a touchdown. It's pretty ignorant on your part. And for the Chiefs didn't do anything spectacular offensively or defensively. I didn't think Brock Purdy did enough to win the game. But who was the difference maker? Who was the superhero? Who was the elite mutant? That was Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, in a league of elite athletes, of supreme athletes, Patrick Mahomes is a step ahead of everybody else. Anytime you have listen, you could be beating the Kansas City Chiefs for 58 minutes and 30 seconds. If there's 30 seconds left on that clock, Patrick Mahomes still can come back to win the game for the Chiefs, and that's what he did. Again, Taylor Swift, she wasn't paraded around as much as I thought she was going to be. I think the NFL and the powers that be, I think that sometimes I don't think they're as dumb as they act or the way they do things. Sometimes I think they probably figured that might backfire on them with the everyday football fan or the blue collar guys. Like, you keep putting her out there and people are getting mad on social media. It might go the opposite way where now people won't vote for Democrats because they're pissed off about their football. So I think that's the angle that they took. I think they played their cards the right way for the first time in a long time. And let's get to Tony Romo. Oh my God. I watched Tony Romo, the life of Tony Romo when he was growing up in Green Bay or Wisconsin, and he became and I really liked his story. I really think that he's a good person, but I just think he's a terrible play-by-play announcer. His speaking voice, it sounds like he doesn't clear his throat or he smoked a million cigarettes, and then there's 45 seconds between every play to the next play. He continuously, from the time the play ends, he will talk the whole 45 seconds, and then he will go even over that into the next play. His timing is off. Like, a big play will happen, and then like 30 seconds later, he's emotional about it. I just don't think play-by-play is his thing. Again, he's a decent guy. I like him. I think he's a good human being. But, give me Jim Nantz. Give me Phil Simms. Give me Pat Summerall. I know he's dead. Give me Dick Enberg. I know those days are over, but I really miss those days. And, the Super Bowl, the game itself, I give it a B. It was a decent played game. There wasn't too much political messaging, so the night went better than I expected.